Hello and welcome to Sarat Chandra IAS Academy, where your dreams are our mission. This is Yatharth here. And today we'll be dealing with constitutional amendments. In the last lecture, we have already seen the procedure, the constitutional aspect of the amendments. We have read about the majorities, strength of the various houses, the special majority, simple majority, absolute majority, etc. And majorities with consent of more than 50% of the states. So that was as per Article 368. Now we'll see about the important list of constitutional amendments in this part. So let's move further. The reason because of which we are doing this lecture is this question which came into prelims this year, 23. Alright, so the question asked us that in India, which one of the following constitutional amendments was widely believed? So one of the thing is that it's rather subjective element to the question, that widely believed. Alright. To be enacted to overcome the judicial interpretations of the fundamental rights. So the question gives us two things to consider, that fundamental rights exist. There can be a judicial interpretation of the fundamental rights. Alright, that means judiciary sits over fundamental rights. Or judiciary can decide that whether the fundamental right is violated or what can be done about it. So the law was enacted, let's say, by the government or the parliament to overcome this. That means direct access to the fundamental rights, any change or violation. So let's see which of the constitutional amendments is of this sort, is of this type. So moving ahead in this lecture, in the last lecture, we took a stepwise approach, one to another. So we saw the parliament, we have already seen this. All right, we have also seen the precedent, Article 52 to, like we saw the 53 article and more than. Houses, we already seen the houses, both the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha. We have seen their strength, whether it was 543, 550. This was the total strength, this is the current strength, 250 and so on. Type of majorities we have already seen, the simple majority, the special majority, absolute majority, special majority with 50% of the states. We have also seen the other articles which propose these majorities, Article 261, etc. Procedure of amendment as per Article 368. We saw where bill can be introduced, whether it has to be passed by both the houses, whether the president assent is required, and for which bills the president assent is not required. Now we come to the last stage, the important amendments. Alright, so now we need to see which of the amendments have been historical in India's constitutional or political history, and then we'll move forward. So let's come to the first amendment and such. I'll give you the dates. Alright, so first amendment we'll see to the constitution. I'll be making a mind map for all the amendments whenever we talk about them, and I'll give you the years as well. So let us talk about the First Amendment Act. This First Amendment Act came to power in 1951. It's also a part of the question that was asked in prelims. So we'll explore it in little detail. All right. So what were the reasons for this act to come? Reasons were to remove certain practical difficulties created by a court's decision in several cases. There were several cases which were being discussed this time around 1951. So these cases were Kameshwar Singh case, Romesh Thapar case. You can read about these cases, KS and Romesh Thapar. And this is a thing of 1951. Just a second, let me. All right. So issues involved in these cases, both of these cases, I'll give a little in brief. So they included the freedom of speech, acquisition of Jamindari land, state monopoly of trade, etc. Freedom of speech is a fundamental right. All right. So some amendments were made into this article, these articles and the constitution around these. So it empowered the state to make special provisions for the advancement of socially and economically backward class. Socially and economically backward class. And it provided for saving of laws, provided for acquisition of estate. The most important thing about this amendment was it added the 9th schedule in the constitution in order to protect the land reforms and other laws included in it from the judicial review. From the judicial review. After Article 31, Article 31A and B were inserted. So 31A and 31B were inserted. The thing is that these things will mostly never be asked. That which of the Constitutional Amendment Act added Article 31A, 31B after Article 31A. The thing is, what is the main core theme? So core theme is it added 9th schedule. All right. Protected few things from the judicial review. And included some changes regarding to the freedom of speech. Advancement of the socially and economically backward class. All right. Let's now talk about the next one, which is the 4th Amendment Act. This came in 1955. So amendments made in this act was made the scale of compensation given in lieu of compulsory acquisition of private property beyond the scrutiny of courts. Authorize the state to nationalize any trade. So this was one core theme. Authorize the state to nationalize any trade. All right. Second thing is included some more acts in the 9th schedule. But please remember 9th schedule was introduced by the First Amendment Act of 1951. It extended the scope of Article 31A, saving of laws. But 31A was again introduced by the First Amendment Act. So this was the 4th Amendment Act of 1955. Let's move to the 7th. 7th Act of 1956. All right. So it amended 2nd and 7th schedule. 2nd and 7th schedule. It abolished the existing classification of states into 4 categories. Just take a screenshot of these things. A state into 4 categories. This classification was abolished by this. Extended the jurisdiction of High Court to union territories. This is most important. Extended the jurisdiction of High Court to union territories. This can be asked. So please remember this. It provided for the establishment of common High Court for 2 or more states. So it's related to High Courts. 2 or more states can have the common High Court. So please screenshot this. All right. Provided for the appointment of additional and acting judges of the High Court. Let's move on to the 9th Amendment Act. This came in 1960. We're talking about the 9th. So after the Nehru-Noon Agreement was signed between India and Pakistan to divide the territory of the Berubari Union, the government of West Bengal opposed it. The government of West Bengal opposed it. So after this union, referred the matter to Supreme Court, which held that the power of Parliament to diminish the area of a state under Article 3 does not cover cession of Indian territory to a foreign country. So this area, Berubari Union, as per Article 3, does not cover cession to a foreign country. So this is as per the 9th Amendment Act. So hence Indian territory can be ceded to a foreign state only by amending the constitution under Article 368. All right, so this includes this cessation of the foreign territory. So this needed to be amended. Now we already know what do we need to do in order to amend the Article 368. All right. So amendment were what? In 1958, facilitated the cession of Indian territory of Berubari Union to Pakistan. All right, this was according to one Indo-Pakistan agreement or Nehru-Noon agreement of 1958. So please remember, ninth one is related to cessation of the Berubari Union. I'll give you a short PDF also of all these. Okay, now come to the 10th one. The 10th Act came in 1961, the next year only. So incorporation of Dadra, Nagar and Haveli as UT. Cessation of or acquisition from Portugal. So Dadra, Nagar and Haveli as UT. So please remember these. The 10th one. Let's come to the 11th. 11th came in 1961, same year. It changed the procedure of election of the vice president. I'm just telling about the core themes. So changed the procedure of election for the vice president, providing for an electoral college instead of a joint meeting of two houses. So electoral college. You don't need to remember this. Just remember this. Procedure of election of vice president was changed. But nothing major. So provided that the election of president or vice president cannot be challenged on ground of any vacancy in the appropriate electoral college. So some changes in election procedures. This was in 11th Amendment Act. We come to the 12th. This incorporated some more UT. Which ones? Goa, Daman and Diu. Alright, these will become UT as per the 12th Act of 1962. Let's come to the 13th, very special one. So this was about Nagaland. It made Nagaland one state, as well as gave special provisions to it. All right, so please remember this one. Let's come to the 14th Act of 1962. 14th Act of 1962. Just a second. All right. So as per this Amendment Act, it incorporated Puducherry in the Union Territory. Puducherry in the Union Territories, and it provided for the creation of legislature and council of ministers for the UT of HP, Himachal Pradesh, Manipur, Tripura, Goa, Daman and Diu, Puducherry. So this was related to Puducherry, nothing major. You don't need to remember it very well. I'll just tell you which ones you need to remember, right? No problem. 7th Amendment Act of 17th, of 1964. So prohibited the acquisition of land under personal cultivation unless the market value of land is paid as the compensation. And it included 44 more acts in the 9th schedule. So this one is not very important. You can possibly skip it. Just remember the core theme. It was related to land. Okay, let's come to the 18th Amendment Act 1966. I'll give you a table and list about all these amendment acts, so don't worry about that. Just watch the video to simply understand the core themes. So 18th of 1966. So it made it clear that power of parliament to form a new state. This one is important. Power of parliament to form a new state also includes a power to form a new state or union territory by uniting a part of state or union territory to another state or union territory. All right. So basically change of area from one state to other. So it formed two new states, Punjab and Haryana. All right. This one is important. Please remember this one. Okay, let's come to the 21st Amendment Act of 1967. So it included Sindhi as the 15th language in 8th schedule. 8th schedule is about languages. So Sindhi was added in this. Okay, let's come to the 24th Amendment Act of 1971. So 24th Constitutional Amendment Act was brought in response to Golaknath case. This is related to. Please remember, after 1971 to further on, these are very important ones. All right, especially till 1976 or so. So Golaknath case 1967 of the Supreme Court, which held that the Parliament does not have the power to take away any fundamental rights through amendment to the Constitution. So here the problem started, let's say. So this one is important, 24th. Many amendments were made this time. It affirmed the power of Parliament to amend any part of the Constitution, including fundamental rights, by amending Article 13 and 368. And it made it compulsory for the President to give his assent to a constitutional amendment bill. So this we read yesterday in the last lecture, that President must give his assent to any amendment bills. He cannot withdraw his assent or return the bill to the Parliament. All right, so this was according to the 24th Amendment Act. 25th, same year, 1971. So it curtailed the fundamental right to property. This also began another problem, we already know. Provided that any law made to give effect to the DPSP in Article 39 cannot be challenged on the ground of violation of rights guaranteed by Article 14, 19 and 31. Alright, so this just curtailed this fundamental right to property. This you remember, this is important. Okay. Many amendments were done during the 1971 to 76, this period. Okay, 26th Amendment Act, 1971. So it abolished the privy purses. Okay, privy purses were the compensation given to the former rulers of India. So money was paid to them every month or every year for maintenance of other things. So this was basically abolished in 1971. Okay. 31st Amendment Act of 1973. So an increase in the population of India revealed the census of 1971. So increased the number of Lok Sabha seats basically from 525 to 545 Lok Sabha seats. Now it is 550. So it was 525 earlier. It increased to 545 as per the census of 1971. Okay. Next is 33rd Amendment of 1974. So what it do? Amendment Article 101 and 190 to provide that the resignation of the Member of Parliament, MP, and the MLAs may be accepted by Speaker Chairman only if he is satisfied that one thing is that the resignation is accepted by the Speaker or the Chairman only if he thinks that it is voluntary and genuine. All right. Let's come to the 35th now. of 1974. So it terminated the protectorate state of Sikkim and conferred the status of an associate state of the Indian Union. Sikkim became an associated state of the Indian Union. The 10th schedule was added. 10th schedule was added, laying down the terms and conditions of association of Sikkim with the Indian UT. It was mostly about Sikkim. The 35th Amendment. Okay. 36th. It made Sikkim a full state from the earlier status of associated state. All right. This was 36th of the 1975. Let's come to the 38th Amendment now. This came out in 1975. What did it do? Made the declaration of emergency by the president non-justiciable. Okay, it was the emergency was about to come this year. Made the promulgation of ordinances by the president, governors, and administrator of UT non-justiciable. Justice cannot be sought if the president declares the emergency, basically, and empowered the president to declare different proclamation of national emergency on different grounds simultaneously. So this was related to emergency, this 38th. Next one, let's see. 39th Amendment, 1975. So this was related to Rajnarayan case. Allahabad High Court declared the election of Prime Minister Indira Gandhi to be void. So what did the amendment do? It placed the dispute relating to the President, Vice President, Prime Minister, Speaker beyond the scope of judiciary. Alright, that judiciary cannot decide whether the election has been void or not. They are to be decided by such authority as may be determined by the Parliament. Parliament will determine. So let's say overpowered by the Parliament. Parliament became OP over the judiciary. So from here the problem is started. Let's now come to one of the most important ones, 42nd Amendment Act of 1976. 42nd of 1976. The major part, let's say. Just a second. Okay, we'll deal it with yellow. So I did 3 new words. What? Socialist, secular, and integrity. This is in the preamble now of the Constitution. It added fundamental duties by the citizens, Part 4A. So fundamental duties we have already seen, we already read about. Made the president bound by the advice of the cabinet. All right. Provided for the administrative tribunals and tribunals for other matters. Froze the seats of Lok Sabha and SLA on the basis of 1971 census till 2001. Made the constitutional amendments beyond judicial scrutiny. All right. Just a second. Beyond judicial scrutiny. That constitutional amendment, whatever will happen, judiciary won't be able to decide. Okay. Curtailed the power of judicial review and writ jurisdiction of the Supreme Court. Raised the tenure of Lok Sabha and state LA for 5 to 6 years. Provided that the laws made for implementation, that means the government will rule for not 5 years now, but 6 years. Okay, provided that the laws made for implementation of DPSP cannot be directed invalid by the courts on the grounds of violation of fundamental rights. So we are slowly coming back to the question, but this article is not given in the options. It's given in the option, in the 42nd one. So I hope you are getting the point now, where the answer is coming from. Okay. It provided the laws made for implementation of DPSP cannot be declared invalid. It also added 3 new DPSP. What? Equal justice and free legal aid. Equal justice and free legal aid. The participation of workers in the management of industries and protection of environment, forest and wildlife. So Indira Gandhi, who was the PM that time, she was very dedicated to the environment. There's a Congress leader named Jairam Ramesh. So he has released a biography of Indira Gandhi in Sense of Environment. A Life in Nature, I believe the name is. Alright. So it empowered the center to deploy the armed forces in any state. Alright. It extended the one-time duration of president's rule in a state from 6 months to 1 year. Facilitated the proclamation of national emergency in any part of territory of India. So this was a time of ultimate government power, you can say. Did away with requirement of quorum in parliament, provided the creation of all India judicial services, shortened the procedure for disciplinary action by taking away rights of a civil servant to make representation at the second stage after the inquiry. So this was, let's say, one of the major amendments. So let's see if it standard the test of time or not. Let's come to the 43rd Amendment of 1977. So restored the jurisdiction of Supreme Court, High Court in respect to judicial review and issue of writs. So it nullified some things of Article 42nd Amendment, sorry. Deprived the Parliament of its special power to make laws to deal with anti-national activities. So 43rd was basically some part nullification of the 42nd. 44th, this one is very important. It was, let's say, NT 42. So restored the original term of Lok Sabha and state SLA to 5 years from earlier 6 years. Restored the provisions with regard to quorum in parliament, omitted the reference to British House of Commons in the provision pertaining to the parliamentary privileges. So the most important ones were the replace the term internal disturbance by armed rebellion in respect of national emergency, made the president to declare a national emergency only on the written recommendation of cabinet. Written recommendation was necessary now in terms of emergency. Declared the right to property, deleted it from the right to property from the fundamental rights and made it only a legal right. Provided that the fundamental right guaranteed by Article 20 and 21 cannot be suspended during a national emergency. So Article 20 and 21 cannot be suspended during even a national emergency. All right. So what are our options here? First, 42nd, 44th and 86. So our answer is already coming from the 42nd Amendment Act. All right. So it overcame the judicial interpretation of the fundamental right. So this was the answer of this question. We'll see the 86th also in the next video. No problem. I'll make a list of this and send to you on the Telegram group. And further on, we'll see from the 50th Amendment Act of 1984. So for many, there's a different phase after 1984, which was focused on Indian governance and economy. So we'll deal with that in the next video. Till then, I bid you bye. Keep studying, keep growing. This is Yatharth signing off. Thank you.